I got this one FPV shot that I remember when I posted it, it just blew up, and it was just like millions and millions of views just rolling in, and it ended up getting like 50 some million views on TikTok, like I forget how many millions of views on Instagram. But it just like skyrocketed my social media accounts. I broke 100,000 followers within a month.
This is Creator, the podcast from Matador Network. I'm your host, Ross Borden, and I believe creators are the future of all global advertising. So join me as I sit down with top creators to hear about how they got started, the challenges they've overcome, and the tips you need to become a full-time creator. All right, we are back with another episode of Creator, the podcast. Today, I have Parker Sheppard. Parker, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Where are you calling us from? Where are you based?
I'm currently in Salt Lake. That's where I'm based at now, in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay, nice. So Parker is an FPV drone pilot and maybe much more. We're going to find out. But I definitely discovered you from seeing just your like insane drone videos across TikTok, Instagram. So for those who are not familiar, tell us about FPV droning and how you got started and kind of a little bit of your origin story.
Yeah, so FPV, if people don't know what FPV is, it's first person view drones. It's this kind of new technology and new style of drones that has emerged in the past several years. Well, emerged in the filmmaking industry. It's been around in more of just like having fun, doing freestyle racing kind of stuff in the past. But yeah, it emerged in the past couple years, and it just kind of gives you a more immersive way of filming with drones.
And this started, I think the first time I ever saw these was racing. Did it start before we were documenting travel and doing it as filmmaking? Is it racing where it all began with the racing drones?
Yeah, racing was kind of the beginning of it. Racing and what we call freestyle, where they go out and do flips with it, and people will go to like abandoned buildings and stuff and fly through the buildings and through gaps and everything. So there's kind of like those three different niches of FPV. I sit more in the cinematic world of it, but I still enjoy going and doing some freestyle and racing for fun on the side. But yeah, it all started with that, and it started like years ago, well before I jumped into it. I have friends of mine that tell me stories of when they started flying FPV, they were tearing apart Wii controllers to pull the gyroscopes out of the Wii controllers to put in their drones, because like they didn't have gyroscopes for it back then.
It was like an engineering feat. People were like building these things basically. And
yeah. I mean, I still build a lot of my drones as well. It's more accessible now. You can buy pre-built ones. But yeah, this is my little workbench back here that I build a lot of my drones at.
Why do you build your own? Why? It's just like it's better, or
being able to customize it, customability of it. So for instance, we just needed there's certain scenarios. It's like, oh, I need a drone specifically for this, and I can't really find a good pre-built one. So we're going to just build ours ourselves so we can customize it the way we need it. So for instance, we needed a drone recently for a project where we were flying over crowds of people. And you can't legally fly over crowds of people unless you have special waivers from the FAA. If they're not under 250 grams, have protected propellers. So you have like enclosed propellers on it.
Right.
And that you have remote ID that communicates with FAA. And so to get all of that under 250 grams is very difficult.
So what was that, like a music festival, or what were you documenting? Were you flying over crowds of people?
That one was a sports festival. It's called the Arnold Sports Festival. So it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's big sporting event he puts on every year. So I was filming that, but we've done the same thing for concerts and music festivals and stuff like that as well. And
so tell me about sort of the business that's developed. You have a production company, right?
Backstory is when I was 18 years old, I started a media agency back in West Virginia. And that was kind of what spurred me to initially get into FPV. I saw FPV and I really liked it, and I thought it was really cool and unique, and I wanted to jump into it, but I was still a college student at the time, didn't have a lot of money, and it was a big investment to jump in FPV, and there wasn't a lot of knowledge out there. So a lot of it was like, if I jump into it, it's gonna be a lot of trial and error and just trying to figure it out on my own. And initially I didn't see enough value in it for me to front the money to jump into it. But then I saw a bunch of people doing FPV, these like FPV drone tours of real estate properties. And so I had a decent amount of real estate clientele at the time. And I was like, this could be a unique way for me to stand out from the competition. So one of my friends from Chicago, he had built my first drone and sold it to me and sent it over to me and helped me set it up and taught me how to fly it and everything. And then I slowly just jumped into it from there. And it still took like a year after I got my first drone to really get to the point where I could film anything commercially with it, because it was just so hard to learn. Yeah,
okay. It is really hard because like they move so fast that I've flown a lot of drones for travel and filming, being out with the teams in the field for Matador, but I've never flown an FPV, and I always wonder, like, it's got to be hard, right? The thing is moving so fast, and like above and beyond all the tricks of going in little windows and under tree branches. Is it just difficult to even just basically fly it or have something that's like usable in terms of the film?
Yeah, it's really an art form of like it's fully manual, which is what makes it different from typical consumer drones that you can buy at Best Buy. And now they do have FPV drones there. But aside from those, the drones that are there have GPS in them. So it's like, if you look at the sticks, the drone is just going to level itself out and hover there. Whereas with an FPV drone, it's like, if you bank the drone to the right to turn to the right, you have to move your stick back to the left to level it back out yourself. I knew the more I practiced, the better I was going to get, and all I was going to do was take time. So I was determined to get good at it and be able to use this for commercial videography. And so I basically said every single day, no matter what, I was going to fly 4 batteries, and that's
which is how much flight time total 4 batteries lasts you.
That's about 20 minutes of flight time. It's not.
Okay, so these are not like the DJI drones that last like 20 minutes in the air.
No,
this is quick spurts and the battery's dead and you need to land immediately.
Yeah.
How many hours would you say, or do you have any idea in terms of under your belt right now, FPV, your whole career?
I couldn't tell you. It's thousands. Like thousands probably tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 hours. Like it's a lot, because I've now it's been so many years and I've just flown every day, and there's shoots that I'm on that I'm flying just continuously, cycling my batteries, charging as well all day long. And whenever I'm traveling, it's like we're just spending so much time flying FPV. So I honestly don't even know how many hours, but it's a lot.
Do you just close your eyes and you see the drone view? That's like that's like your sleep state. It's like the drone simulator.
I think early on, I think I definitely did. I was definitely spending more time flying early on as well than I do now, just because I knew I was really bad at flying, and I knew the only way for me to get better was to practice over and over again. And so, like I said, like I went out and flew 4 batteries every day, and I did that for probably like 10 months before I ever got my first job flying FPV for a company doing real estate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've never personally done FPV, but I know the drone drama firsthand, because we've had them on every shoot, and we've done hundreds of shoots all over the world. And there's always, a great payoff for an amazing drone shot, but behind every great drone shot, there's like some kind of stress or hassle or malfunction. So it can be extremely stressful. So you started with real estate in terms of like monetizing this and making it into a business. You started doing real estate first, and then tell us what's happened since then.
Yeah. So I started out with real estate. We did drone tours. It was actually awesome, because I was still broke at this point whenever I first got my first jobs doing FPV, and I was just putting every penny I had back into FPV, because I was like, this is going to be the future of videography. The more I spent flying, the more I started to see the potential with it. And then when I finally got to the point where I was comfortable, ready to do my first indoor drone tour, which is what I wanted to start doing initially, I reached out to all the top realtors in West Virginia. I shot them all a message I sent them an email, sent them a message on Instagram, and I said, introduce who I was, said, this is what I'm trying to do. I have this new technology. Nobody in the state is doing it yet. You could be the first person to do it. And I said, I will come and do the first, if you have any good properties that would be good for this, I'll come and do the first shoot for free. Just so I can get a portfolio piece and you can see the potential of it. So
that's a good pitch. I like it. Okay.
Yeah. So then the top realtor and the top producing realtor in the state messaged me back and said, hey, I have a property that I would love to have you come shoot. And it was perfect timing, because she just so happened to have her photographer leave the state, and it was like right that same week she needed a new photographer. And so, and that was the benefit with doing the media agency as well, is I could do the photography and videography on top of the FPV drone work. So I went and shot the first property for free, and the property sold within 24 hours, sight unseen. And that was the first time she'd ever had a property do that before. And the buyer specifically told her, hey, we chose this because we saw the indoor drone tour, and that like gave us like basically made us feel like we had toured the house in person ourselves. So she was like, that's the best like virtual tour I've ever seen of a property. And so then immediately the realtor came to me and she said, what number would it take for you to exclusively work with me for the next 6 months? And so I threw out a number there, and she agreed. And so I basically got an exclusivity contract. She was still paying me for all the shoots on top of that, but I had exclusivity to just shoot those properties with her for the next 6 months. And she was doing a very large volume. So it gave me the opportunity to hone my skills for doing that, while also building a portfolio. So when the 6 months were up, I was able to go and get all these other realtors as well. And at the time, that was the biggest contract I'd ever received in my career as a videographer. And so it was like,
that was first break.
Pretty
That's
big
awesome.
moment. Yeah.
All right. So you're dominating real estate. You've got in West Virginia, you've got your exclusive deal with this top realtor. Then what happens? Where do you take this next?
I finally decided to drop out of college, and then real estate was really taking off then, and my business in West Virginia was really taking off. I was doing a bunch more commercial work, TV commercials, stuff for businesses there. So I dropped out, and within 6 months, I hired my first salaried full-time employee for my agency, and then also hired some part-time employees as well. Hired another FPV pilot to help do shoots. And then, so they started doing all of that. And in the meantime, I started traveling. I finally had this extra cash flow. I've always wanted to go travel. My first place I ever wanted to visit was Iceland. So my first ever trip out of the country, I went to Iceland. And I was pretty
ultimate
good
playground for FPV.
Literally. Probably. Yeah. And so I went there, and it was funny because I was still felt kind of new to doing FPV outside of real estate. And so I went there, I took like one FPV drone with me on the trip, and I crashed it early on the trip. And so I didn't really get to film much FPV while I was there, but a volcano erupted while I was there. And I remember I went to the volcano and shot a bunch of stuff, but I didn't get to fly FPV at it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I don't have a drone to film this with. Yeah. And this was like that year, I think only one person had filmed the volcano with a drone. And the clips didn't get a whole lot of traction on social media. But then, so then I told myself, I was like, okay, if another volcano ever erupts, I don't care what's going on in my life. I don't care what's going on, what it takes to get there. I'm on the plane there, and I'm going to get the FPV shots of it. So then fast forward a year, I did this trip that I called it my dropout trip, because it was supposed to be I booked it for the same week I would have been walking at graduation. And it was to my dream bucket list location called Faroe Islands. And I like always wanted to go here. I was still really small on social media at the time, like less than 5,000 followers on Instagram. And we filmed like the whole week. And there was this one location there that I really wanted to film that I remember I'd seen it one other time on Instagram, or like two other times on Instagram. And it's such a unique location that was like, it was one of the locations that made me want to go to Faroe Islands to begin with. And so it was like one of those locations where it's like, I'm not leaving this country without visiting this spot. So we went there, and then I got this one FPV shot that I remember when I posted it, it just blew up immediately. And it was just like millions and millions of views just rolling in. And it ended up getting like 50 some million views on TikTok. Like I forget how many millions of views on Instagram. But it just like skyrocketed my social media accounts. So like,
because at the time you had what, 5,000 followers?
Yeah,
you were unknown basically.
Yeah, and it skyrocketed my social media career to where it was like, I mean, I think I broke 100,000 followers within the month on Instagram. And then I jumped up. I had a decent following on TikTok at the time, but it jumped me up like a few 100,000 followers on TikTok, like up to like 400,000 or 500,000, something like that.
Just from one video.
Just from the one video, yeah. And then the next month, I remember I was at my parents' place, and I remember I'd gone up to take a shower, and I got a text from one of my buddies from Iceland that a volcano had just erupted in Iceland.
I knew it.
And I I remember just running downstairs and being like, a volcano just erupted, and we had like a 3-day window that we had free that we could make it to Iceland to shoot the volcano. It's like, do we just do it? And I remember we just like decided to just book flights for like the next day, and we land, and we couldn't get a rental car because everything was booked out. We barely were able to get an Airbnb. And my friend Schwaner,
because of the volcano, were other people
Yeah.
going there to see the volcano? Because it's like a huge tourism event.
Yeah, I think that's my only explanation, is it had to have been because of the volcano. And then we were just at the volcano all day long, just flying over and over and over again. And I was like kind of conservative with my gear at this point, because like I didn't have any gear sponsors. I still like had some money from my agency, but I have a ton of money to where I could just like crash $1,000 or $1,500 drone in the volcano and lose it. Like that would definitely still hurt.
Yeah.
And so I went and filmed it, and I was like slowly just getting closer and closer every battery. And I had this one shot where like the volcano just like erupted right as I was passing by it, and just lava sprayed all around it, and the drone survived it.
But didn't hit the drone. Because I know the exact shot you're talking about, and it looks like it had to have gotten hit. Like there's bubbles of lava everywhere as you're flying through, but if it had hit, that would have been it, right? It would have gone right. That's lava's heavy. It's not like it splash a little water
too.
And it's
like,
hot. It like completely toast your drone. So you got that like the ultimate money shot. And then made it back. Was the drone like still melted? When I was watching that, I was like, how, just from the heat, even if it didn't get hot, even if it didn't get hit directly, how is a drone not just like completely melting from just the heat in the air?
Yeah, no, the drone definitely melted. The GoPro was melted. The GoPro was like, the front screen was bubbling up because it was so hot, like melting.
Wow.
And my propellers were melting and stretching out, and I was like having to swap propellers between flights and stuff. I'm still amazed the drone made it out of that. So that kind of helped skyrocket. It was like that compounded with my Faroe Islands content, just like skyrocketed my social media career. So then I felt like I was running this kind of like dual life, where I was managing a media agency with a team back home, working with a bunch of corporate commercial videography work, while also still doing like all this travel social media stuff on the side. And it was funny because it was like the travel social media stuff, like it was like nobody had any idea that I was doing all this other stuff on the back end. People just looked at me as like the FPV drone pilot.
And then have you kind of become, I mean, as far as I can tell, you've achieved your dream. You are one of the top FPV pilots. At least you're one of the most followed that I've seen on social. Are you now kind of like gun for hire for, like you were talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger's event or different sporting events or GoPro things where people are like, we need an ace FPV pilot? Like, oh, I know the guy. Like, are you just getting tons of leads from your social media following?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of leads from social media. It landed me a lot of really awesome projects. Like I've gotten to work with some really incredible companies and some incredible people just from my social media following. But I started to realize, like, I'm more of like I got into filmmaking because I enjoy the outdoor sports and adventure and like the travel, that lifestyle. And I got into filmmaking because I wanted to capture that. And I think I had this like moment where I realized I was definitely leaning more towards just doing projects that were really high paying, but I wasn't really passionate about, over the things I'm really passionate about, which is like the outdoor adventure travel industry. And that's why I'm uprooted and moved to Utah. Cause I just was like, it was hard for me to say no to that money, because it's good money to be doing all these projects. But the passion wasn't there anymore, and I knew I wanted to do stuff that I was really passionate about. And so that's whenever I was like, all right, I'm just going to remove myself from that situation and just plant myself in an area that inspires me to do the stuff that I'm really passionate about. And when I think about all the things I love doing, snowboarding, rock climbing, off-roading, hiking, all that stuff with incredible landscapes, like Utah was the spot for me. And so that's what inspired me to uproot and move out here and just kind of go all in on doing more of the projects that I'm really passionate about, which mostly FPV is like most jobs I'm doing with just FPV I'm pretty passionate about, because it's fun doing FPV.
What about hotels? Do you ever get hired by international hotels in amazing places to make similar videos than the ones you're making for the real estate agents back in West Virginia?
Yeah, I've done a lot for. There's a resort in the Bahamas that I've done a lot of work with, and I've worked with some tourism boards. around the world that I've gotten to go out and shoot.
What about other bucket list items? You mentioned Dolomites, you've done Iceland, Faroe Islands. What about like legal places that you are allowed to fly? You just haven't gone there yet. Do you have anywhere on your list that you're really pumped to get to?
Yeah, there's one specific one that I can't reveal just because nobody's done it yet, and it's been very big on the list. But there's places like Indonesia and Sri Lanka and places like that that I've been dying to get out to, and hopefully this year will be the year that I make it to those locations. There's just so many places in the world to explore, and just not enough time to explore them all. So, but those are high on the list that hopefully will get knocked off this year. And then there's a few big ones that I'm working on, always actively trying to figure out how to make happen, that will be pretty big if I can get out there to film.
Awesome, man. Well, Parker, thanks for coming on the show. I ask everyone a question, same question who comes on the show, because most of the folks on this show have traveled quite a bit. If your passport only worked in 3 countries, meaning you could only live or visit 3 countries in the whole world for the rest of your life, what would those 3 countries be?
One would definitely be Iceland, for sure. Another one would be the United States, just because it's home and family, but also there's so much to explore here.
Yep.
Man.
It's that third one that gets everyone.
Yeah, third country. I feel like I have to pick somewhere tropical, just because I have the cold side of things. So I would honestly probably say Costa Rica. I love Costa Rica.
Good pick, yeah.
So I think those would be my 3.
Awesome. Well, we'll be watching. Stoked that you made the leap and you're focusing only on the stuff that you're fired up about. And man, the shots are just amazing. Keep it coming. For those who don't already follow you, let us know where to find you online.
Yeah, so I am at PShepFPV, PSHEPFPV, across all platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and that's where I post all of my FPV content and travel content.
All right, check this guy out, guys. Unbelievable drone pilot and footage. Parker, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Creator the Podcast is produced by Matador Network. We are a leading global travel publisher focused on travel and adventure. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe. Every week, I interview a new top creator. New episodes are released every Tuesday on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere podcasts are found. Thanks for listening.